We're with Adam Feldman. Adam is a criminal defense attorney in Phoenix, Arizona. He's agreed to answer some questions related to vehicular assault and vehicular homicide. With that said, Adam, let's go into the first question that was posted. My son was drinking and driving when he got into an accident. He is now facing murder charges. How is this possible?
Unfortunately, what you're experiencing is pretty normal and pretty common. The way it works is this. Drinking and driving, when you get into an accident, if somebody gets killed, the state is very likely going to charge your son or whoever it is with a form of murder. Now, murder is not always defined equally, so the way it kind of breaks down is that at a minimum, the state considers drinking and driving and getting into that car and driving as negligent conduct. You recognize there's a risk and you just disregard the risk. So the lowest form of this murder charge is negligent homicide, but it only goes up from there. More often than not, you see the charge as manslaughter, and then it can go to second-degree murder or even first-degree murder, and it's all from drinking and driving with an accident. Now, the range in how you would get charged with murder versus negligent homicide tends to do more with the conduct of the person who was drinking and driving and got into the accident. So, for example, if you are drinking and driving and you pull out of a drive and somebody hits you and it's really not even your fault, you can expect that they're going to hit you with negligent homicide. Now, the flip side is if you're going 120 miles an hour on the wrong side of the highway after drinking and driving and you kill somebody, they're going to charge you with murder in the first degree there. So I'm sorry for what your son is going through and the charges that are before him, but that is how I can best explain the situation that he's in right now.
Okay, next question. I know that he did not mean to kill anyone and he has a clean criminal and driving history. Will this help him?
Short answer is absolutely. Whenever you come to the table as a good person, free from any criminal history, and even especially when your driving history is clear, that is always going to help a defense attorney defend you or whoever it is that we're defending. The flip side is, well, if you're coming with tons of alcohol-related prior felony convictions or misdemeanor convictions, and your driving history is, you're a perpetual speeder or you race or anything like that, that makes it a lot harder to defend you in a case like this. But when you come to the table with a clean record, it allows us to really focus on the fact that, obviously you never intended for this to happen. You didn't want this to happen. And we do the best to humanize and personalize our client for all the good things he or she has done.
Okay. What defenses can we use to help my son?
There are a lot of different types of defenses, and it all depends on how they charge you. So, for example, if they charge you with murder in the first degree, the easiest defense of that is just really picking apart the statute. For them to say murder in the first degree, they are basically saying that your conduct was so egregious that it's murder in the first degree. But with these types of cases, I'm not going to say it's easy, but they're very defensible in the ability of creating the lesser included offense and saying, look, Adam, all this was negligent conduct. We all hear the risks of drinking and driving, and he shouldn't have driven after having had alcohol. But it's negligent. It's not first degree murder. It's not second degree murder. It's not manslaughter. It's negligent homicide, or at most it's manslaughter. So that's the biggest defense we typically have. The other types of defenses will vary from case to case. A lot of times, even though somebody was drinking and driving, and even though there's a blood alcohol concentration, maybe there's a way that we can attack the blood so that the state doesn't get to use it. We've seen it all too many times where state agents, the police officers, the phlebotomists, the lab that tests the blood, they don't follow all the protocols. And as a result of that, you can have their evidence, more specifically, the blood alcohol concentration of the person who was driving, you can have that eliminated from trial. So those are just a handful of different ways that we can defend the case, but they're really fact specific, as to how everything took place and whether it's, there's so much into how we would defend the case that we need to know really the true details of each investigation.
Okay, next question we had is, My son was on prescription medications and alcohol. Does the fact that he was on prescription medications help him?
So here's how this works. Being on prescription medications while driving, there is a defense within that. But what the state and defense, for that matter, have the ability to do is we can test the blood and we can actually get a pretty accurate ratio of the amount of drugs or metabolite of drugs in your blood. There is a scientifically accepted level, we'll call it, where the drugs in your blood are at that therapeutic level. So if I go home and I'm taking oxycodone because I just had a surgery a couple days ago, we can expect a certain amount of that drug in my system. And if that's the amount, then that is a substantial defense for your son. If you are well above that therapeutic level, what that suggests is that you're no longer using it, to dull the pain associated with the surgery a couple days, but more you're getting high off these drugs. And that makes it pretty difficult to defend. Not impossible, but it makes it difficult. Now we come to the issue where you've got the drugs and the alcohol in your system. Well, that's tough, not impossible. The reason it's tough is because even if those prescription drugs were at the therapeutic level, the alcohol is alcohol and there's no therapeutic level to have in your system. So if you are in that accident with the drugs and the alcohol and somebody dies, it makes it very difficult, but again, not impossible. That's the best I can do with that answer.
Okay, and this is the final question. Is my son looking at serious time for a crime that he never meant to commit?
Short answer is definitely. Take murder in the first degree. With something like that, you could be looking at life in prison, which means 25 years. That's basically how they would categorize it. At 25 years, you're eligible for parole. If it's in second degree murder, you can be looking at up to 25 years. And then if it's manslaughter, you're looking at up to 21 years. So these cases are excessively harsh when it comes to punishment. And I'm with you 100%. Nobody who goes out and drinks and drives and gets into this accident ever wanted for somebody to die. Their goal was to get home or get from point A to B. And all of a sudden they're facing these serious charges. And quite frankly, that's why a defense attorney who's familiar with these cases is so important, because the exposure to the prison system with these charges is so vast. And if you have the wrong attorney, your son or whoever could be facing 25 years in prison. So yeah, these are very serious consequences, but we've handled a lot of these cases and we've done so quite successfully. And so look forward to hopefully seeing you.
Excellent. Well, if you have any additional questions for Adam, all you need to do is post them in the comments section below in the YouTube video. He's agreed to get back to you with answers. With that said, Adam, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. And like I said with some of the earlier questions, a lot of these posts or these questions are very fact specific. There's no two vehicular homicides the same. So feel free to call me, 602-540-7887. The consultation is always free, and we can discuss the details of what's going on, and that assists me in telling you the defenses, the prices, how I think we can do everything like that. So I look forward to your phone call.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Ryan.